So it's your boy Timmy, and y'all usually see me in this type of space. I had to come see, but we had Anachronist Wellness with the proprietor, Doc.
Edwardo Thompson.
And you have that the reigning national champion, Mr. Nairn. So guys, first of all, I want to be with you for basketball. I forgot, for some reason I forgot that you was Thompson, brother.
Yeah.
So y'all know me for the basketball season. And Tuesday, our guys will be going over to Nicaragua for America. And his brother will be our coach. Send your prayers that way. Be able to be a track season. Knock out next week. Just tell me about the season in the last week. They said you there was a show was come out with Long Jumper. You separate yourself. Just talk people about your mind last weekend at the Nationals.
I just came prepared, to win, because last year I didn't win, and I didn't want to repeat itself. And so me and Mr. Thompson had numerous of conversations about how to execute, how to stay poised and just keep everything together when I go out there and be an eagle and dominate. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't worried about anybody else. I respected all my competitors, and I just wanted to come up with the win, and I got that. So I was really happy about that.
Starkers Thompson, but he said we lost last season. I said, tell me from your vantage point, what changed? What was wrong, maybe physically, or what you was able to work, or just how you was able to keep him on the right path in the year in between?
I think one of the things that really impressed me with LaQuan is his mental capacity and the growth of his maturity. I think one of the things that I've learned from him over the years is that he knows how to lock in. I think this year was more, you saw the hunger, you saw the thirst, you saw, the difference between trying to get somewhere. I already know that I'm already there, and that's where he's at. He's already know he's a champion. So it made, for me, I look at it as a lot easier for him to accomplish it, because now he knows that, listen, at any given time, I can do what I need to do, execute it, and that's what he did this weekend. And it's only going to get better. The day we were talking, and I said, LaQuan, you have to understand this. Sometimes God has you hidden in a place to prepare you for your destination. And I think that's what this is about. The world doesn't see him now, but this is Commonwealth champion. I mean, he's done some great works, and the world knows him. But where he's at this time of his life, at this stage of life, it's about now becoming great and, setting a standard and a precedence. And I think that's what is happening now. He knows what it is to come from the back to the front, and sometimes we get complacent in life because we think the journey is always going to be, one way. But God always have a way to
Slide this up and down, not straightforward.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's what's happening now.
So before we go to the next, we'll take a back. So you can see him, been done for like 16 years. So that would be the 29 now. So that's 13 years. Talking, but as far as we remember, the first time, sadly, the first one coming might have been an injury. We're talking about that process from then 13 years.
The first time I met Mr. Thompson, I can remember it like yesterday. I came in with an ankle injury. I had broken my ankle. I think it was a broken ankle or like a bad ankle injury. And when I came in, he sat me down. We prayed first, and that was different for me. That was different for me. And then he sat me down and he told me, "Say, look, we're gonna get you back. We're gonna get you up," because everybody was already telling me shut my season down, and he's not believing in things like that. And so that right there is when I think, like the connected and the mental capacity. Like I truly believe he birthed that for me, and I really appreciate him for that. But I came back of an ankle injury that year, and was in 2014, and I ended up winning junior CAC that year on my last jump. After sitting in from December and probably until May, I went to Carifta that year. I got one bronze medal, and that was, I normally would win Carifta and stuff like that,
But the comeback from and people telling you sit down.
Yeah.
It should have been something at least going some hardware.
And so once I found out that, like, I'm getting results from this injury and how he operates in his atmosphere, and how he's just this person of faith and stuff like that, kingdom principles, I was like, this is what I want to work with. I don't want to work with nobody else.
I'm talking about hearing that everyone's saying you have a season of your approach to knowing you could attack it a different way, being able to convince a young 16-year-old that I know everybody else didn't know, but this is what you could do. And just talking about being able to approach it that way.
I think for me is the one thing that I've been gifted with is my hands. But the wealth of knowledge is really looking at how a thing works. And from the way I'm being taught, the way I work, I always look at what do I have to work with. And I think what I've learned in the industry is that we look at symptoms and condition. I look at the state that the structure is in. And when I say the state, as long as he has movement, and as long as not movement to the point where when I put resistance on it, it's not creating pain, I have something to work with. Because all it's telling me that there's a difference of muscles and tendons and ligaments being taut, tensioning off. Once you release the load off all the surrounding muscles, a joint will work the way it's supposed to work. And so having the technology, having the training and the discipline to really know, and then faith, it's just that I have a crazy faith to believe the impossible, and sometimes what I find is that once it's in the right environment, and when I say the right environment, the right mindset, he was already there. So everything, even to this day, that mindset is still present today. If he comes in here and he says to me, Mr. Thompson, listen, X, Y, Z is the case, and this isn't working. We sit down, we talk about it, and we go to work. Because I know that his faith is so high that when you apply the faith with the work, I'm just amazed. Miracles. That's all I can say. It gets to the point now where it sounds like a cliche. He'll tell you, God healed me. Not Mr. Thompson, but the atmosphere here is so ripe that when you walk into this, that's what you're seeing. So it's not even the working, it's the mindset, the atmosphere, the gift that God has given to us. And that's the thing. I mean, even today, what we experience today, and we won't talk about it, but eventually that testimony will come. But the atmosphere is ripe. That's all I can say. It's ripe for healing.
I believe there was a time where you got a few years off. It was like 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, I didn't make a national team for 7 years.
We've been talking about your medical course. We're talking about being able to go through that and just still find take the and come back to the national stage. What was going through your head around that?
I think around that time I wasn't disciplined. I didn't know how to take care of my body as a college athlete. I would always tell people being a professional is easy for me because my brother always tell me knowing is not enough. We have to drink water as athletes, but if you just know you have to drink water and don't apply it and drink the water, knowing that
the action.
And so during those years, I believe that God wanted me to be there to build me up, to build my faith.
Had to take you through some things first.
Yeah, in 7 years, just like with the story of Joseph and Pharaoh, like it was plenty years of nothingness, and 7 years of nothingness and 7 years of plenty, and within those 7 years of making the national team, was my last national team I made was 2015, and the first national team I made was 2022 when I became a Commonwealth champion. And so only God can write something like that. I never made a senior team until 2022. I tried, but it was a bunch of injuries, a bunch of things that I had to go through, and I always used to ask God, God, I have the talent that none of these guys have go up stage jumping and stuff like that. When am I going to get my chance? And I came home in 2022, became a national champion of the Bahamas, and won the World Championships and made my first senior team. And then 2 weeks after that, went to Birmingham, England, and became a Commonwealth champion by the grace of God. And so all of that, I always tell people, you can't write other people's stories, you have to let the Lord order your steps, because He has, and just focus on yourself.
I'm talking about what your relationship was like in those 7 years. He was a man, he was a father, he was failing to hit the goals he set.
Well, I think for me, the relationship that LaQuan and I have goes back to high school from St. John's. Our son played basketball. LaQuan is a young man. It's very difficult not to like him as an individual. He's always, from the time I met him, he's been the same person he is today. I think it's all about maturity, locking in. I think college, God sometimes he prunes who he loves. It's crazy, but the pruning process, no one wants to go through that. But that's what you need in order to bear fruit, to become ripe. And I think right now, his greatest years are still ahead of him, and there's so much more. But who you see today is not who I saw in high school. What we're going to see come forth is something that's going to be greater than what we've seen from this little island. We've seen some great athletes come, but it's not just his professionalism, it's the work that he's going to do in the track and field community. The amount of lives and the persons he witnessed to, he has that relationship to teach the Bible, to talk about faith, to talk about works. Because even, a client that he referred to us, he was trying to get her to come here for years. And she walked over here a different person, just because sometimes it takes your life experience and it takes their brokenness. But your life experience and their brokenness, when it meets, it creates something that is so unique and so rare that they're going to want to know, what is this? They're going to want more, because this isn't an ordinary place. I can tell you that. This is, trust me, it's no ordinary place. And I'm just amazed every day to see what God is going to do, because when it comes to healing, healing is our responsibility. Miracles is totally God's responsibility. So when you want a miracle, only He can do that. You want healing, it's your responsibility. And that's the gift that He's given to us, the responsibility to think beyond what I've been trained or taught. Our relationship with companies and with institutes we're so well connected with scientists and doctors around the world. So we're not just getting information from a Bahamian perspective or local perspective. Whatever problem we're faced with, our network can go out and find out what we need to do to correct this, treat this problem. And that's the wealth of knowledge. That's the wisdom. That's the beauty of having access. But and in all essence, I always believe that the end result, especially in sports today, we see so many athletes' career being ended prematurely. It's because there's a system that is in place that is designed not for them to fail, but not for them to progress. Because once you get injured, there's a label that's placed on you. And once that label is placed on you, you start believing that. You start thinking that. And then you start living it. And once that has happened, I'm talking about, you think about it, you follow basketball. How many NBA players you know right now who careers ended prematurely or career injuries that allow them to basically lose everything?
Countless.
Okay. The question is why? And that's because we don't deal with corrective therapy. When you start using the word corrective, you change the whole system, because now you're going up against a giant of drugs, injection, medication. And then, like I said, I always tell persons this: whenever an athlete's about to be traded at any level, there's several groups of persons in that boardroom. And one of them is a therapist who's been working with you for years. Because when they can't solve a problem, they have to give a reason or account for why you're not healthy. And 9 times out of 10, they're the last persons to get fired from an organization. Because they maintain the team, but they don't correct injuries. And once you get injured, you're now traded to another team to be managed by the same system you just came from. Because the whole system, I hate to use the word that is rigged, but it's the same philosophy, the same principle, the same ideology that they have at that level. And so when persons come here to us, they get to experience something totally different that they've never experienced before, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Europe. Our clients come from all around around the world now. And it's not because of they're coming to the Bahamas. It's just that we're being placed here. I think if we were anywhere, this would have been our attitude. But it just makes it better to be here in the Bahamas to do what we're doing.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. But it's a broken system. It's a broken system. And so you're competing against systems that are in place, that has been in place for years. But I always tell persons this, it's also the discipline from starting early. I remember when we volunteered to help with St. John's, you know, to get a bag of ice, you know, that was standard. You know, make sure you got ice carrying to the games, you know, and that was never our way. When we travel with all our equipment and whatever the athletes needed. Today, what you're now seeing in the way the system is really designed is that an athlete gets injured today, that, you know, the medical team either is going to treat the symptom or tell you, listen, your season is over. And that's just the way the standard is. That's just the way the system is. But you have to now be real proactive today. I mean, you can't, you know, when you take a kid that is not used to going into a system, goes to a professional league, he goes into that league believing that the team has everything that he or she needs to keep them healthy, and that's not the case. So if like I said earlier, you're responsible for your own health. If that means you have to go outside the system, that's what you have to do. So think about it, the Dallas Mavericks, their whole starting five.
Injured.
Okay. So who do you blame, or who takes the, you know, some responsibility for that?
Should be medical team, but I always think they're there.
Okay. That's all I have to say.
Before we get there, next week, couple of days we knock out. You know, said one record. How you feel next week? How you feel reigning national champion?
I feel great about this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I feel great about this is because everything has been in order. Everything has been in order from, I had an injury in April that nobody in the U.S. could fix. Nobody could have done it. You know, I was going there, seeing people, and it was just the needles in my leg, and nothing was happening. And I just think the timing of it, you know, wasn't on purpose, for a purpose, you know. And so when I came back home to start and get a treatment for Mr. Thompson, it was, I knew everything was going to fall in place because I put in the work. I don't take shortcuts. That's one thing I don't believe in. I don't believe in like taking the easy route. I don't cheat. Nobody has to, you know, force me to wake up and practice. I always believe that I work harder than everybody, you know, and I've proven that over the years. And so once I came out to get treatment, you know, and I experienced the healing miracle, you know, from being here. Like the Lord actually healed me, you know, from this coming. And like he said earlier, like sometimes God have to take you out of an atmosphere or an environment because the people in that environment doesn't believe that healing can take place. Mm-hmm. So sometimes God have to take you to a place where the healing miracle can happen, you know, for it to actually happen, you know. And so over the past couple of weeks, working with Mr. Thompson and stuff like that, and training back home, I've been this as long as I've ever been here since I left the Bahamas. I've been here probably for like 2 months, you know, and so just training, getting treatment. Everything has been in order, you know. Like I finally found the approach that works for me. I was walking in the airport and the Lord said, "LaQuan, I ordered your steps. You can't run the approach like person A or person B. You know, I know what it is to jump against the #1 long jump in the world and beat that person and take that person there. Believe it or not, when I step on the runway with them, I run to that bar and I slow down, none of them are better than me. Like none of these jumpers. But see, because I am in faith and in Christ, I have to always remember that it's not about me, it's about the kingdom. You know, and so when you live in for Christ and you in Christ and you're a believer, like your identity isn't in the sport, it's in Jesus. And so I can't look at what other people are getting. You understand what I'm saying? I can't be like, you know what, Lord, I want this and I want that. But no, sometimes my journey is different for a reason. And so like this healing that I got, you know, one of my brothers in Christ, Joshua Langford, Michigan State shooting guard, he called me, he prayed for me after Mr. Thompson was working on me. And I believe it was ordained It was on purpose that after I got treated, I didn't even practice that day because of the intensity of the treatment. And after the treatment, Josh called me and he said, "Bro, I want to pray for you." And he said, every ligament, every tissue, every bone, every muscle, every tightness, every stiffness, or whatever he said, every restriction, leave in Jesus' name. Him and his wife went to dinner. He hung up. I went home. I worked out the next morning. That's normally something I do to see if the injury is still there or any pain. I ran so fast that day, I thought he was hurting. From June 17th, I haven't felt anything. Sometimes when I come in, you ain't even have to do much. And I told the Lord, I said, "Lord, I will take this over silver and gold or bronze. This is greater than any medal because I actually experienced the healing miracle. And that's a testimony that the Lord has allowed me to have because I have bold faith to proclaim it. And I'm not going to just say the people. I don't operate like that. The Father will tell me to do that. But Bobby, a question. I believe that great things are going to happen. I believe that I will become the knockout champion by the grace of God because I can see it happening. They haven't seen me at my best. I've never jumped at my best before. All of these meets I've won, even at Commonwealth, I was slowing down to the ball. Every athlete that I compete against, nothing's wrong with their approach. They never slow down to the ball. I've been doing this for years, and this is easy for me. But my greatest asset is, my relationship with Jesus. And because I have faith in him, I don't worry about what I would eat, what I would drink, or what I would wear. I don't worry about what's going on around me because I have people like Mr. Thompson. I have my people like my brothers, my friends that actually, they hold me accountable to my faith walk in. And so it isn't about traveling for you, or it isn't about sports for you. It's about saving souls for the kingdom. And if you can have that mindset, that principle, and that attitude, there's nothing that the Lord can't do for you. Because no level of sweat equity, you understand what he's saying, could change your process. It doesn't change your process. And the God we serve is a God of sweatless victories. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I've been in hiding. I haven't jumped over 8 meters in 2 years. That's never happened. When I first went pro in 2022, I was the most consistent jumper in the world. If I took 6 attempts, all 6 of those attempts were over 810, 815. And I looked at it, that was one point of the year in 2023. I was the number 4 ranked jumper in the world. No other field in this country ever been like that. And I ain't talking for 1 day or 2 weeks, almost for the entire season. And these last 2 years has been, the hardest part has been physically, not mentally, because I have the people, I have the relationship with the Lord, but physically it's been hard because I know I put in the work. I've seen jumpers who I train with don't put in the work that I put in. Mm-hmm. And they winning medals. And I'm like, Lord, you want me helping these people? Yeah, you want me helping these people and testifying to these people. And I read you in the background, having approach issues, slowing down. I have the same people who I am telling me, oh, pop it up. But bro, you ain't better than me. And I know that. But you could play forgetful, but history never lies. I didn't begin with Commonwealth champion by luck. I won that because it was supposed to happen. I won that because I put it in work.
Again.
And the good thing about it, I don't need somebody else to believe in me. You know what I'm saying? The things we hear the most is the things we are faithful. And so at the end of the day, somebody else could say, I'm going to be the champion next week. That's their belief. I respect that. But when we step on this runway next week, they can see a different one there. Because I ain't going there to lose. Like I told Brent Stubbs in 2022, after the prelims at Commonwealth, he said, what can we be expecting from me? And I didn't say this. The Spirit said this, it shocked me. I said, go. He said, what? I said, go. And I walked off. I became Commonwealth champion.
So sad, so done.
So sad, so done. History no lie. And that Commonwealth medal is bigger than the World Championship medal. Mm-hmm. But it isn't celebrated like that. You know what I'm saying? And so you can go in the history books and see it. I just want to inspire people to believe in themselves and their ability, because when I became a carnival champion, I only was living off $1,000 a month. My first 4 months as a professional, I slept on one of my friend's couch. I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my coaches. I just needed a ride to practice. One of my teammates allowed me to sleep in their house. He charged me $550. So we had $450 a month. I still had vitamins to buy, contacts to get and stuff like that. But there's a thing called favor. You know, I've experienced the grace of favor with many people around me. And that's something that I want the human athletes and even athletes, not even just in track and field, but around the world, to understand that relationships are more important than money. And how you treat people is important. And there's principles that the Lord has placed in the Bible for us to just live up and try. It doesn't fail. All of these things, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm not the first person that experienced that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I won't be the last, but I want to inspire a generation of athletes that actually walk by faith, walk by sight, and that actually have an attitude of a lion, of an eagle. You understand what I'm saying? And don't prostitute themselves for a little bit when there's more around. He gave me an analogy the other day, and actually a real principle thinking about it. He said, if there was $2 million on this table, and someone said you have 10 seconds to grab as much to pick it up. He said, what would you do? I went like this. He said, why would you do that? And there was a towel on the table. He said, why would you do that when you could just fold that, and take it?
5 seconds.
5 seconds, you know? And so, younger athletes or athletes around the world, whether professional basketball, football, soccer, tennis, whatever it is, your walk with Jesus Christ is the most important thing in your life. If you have that, no adversities, no injuries, no setbacks, no shortcoming, it's going to stop you from getting the thing you actually want. Because the Lord said, I will give you the desires of your heart. But you need to have the mindset. You need to have the faith to receive these things. All of these things, if we look at it in actuality, most of the things we don't have is because we don't have the faith to receive it. And the Father, he's such a good Father, bro. Like, most of the things, he saved us with things. If you ask me, LaQuan, those years when you were missing, do you think you were ready for success? I was not. I didn't have the mindset. And your mindset is the most important thing. That's the hardest thing to change in the mind.
It's so fixated on this one thing.
Right.
He said the most dangerous man in the world is a man who doesn't have principles. Because wherever you don't have principles, financial principles, marriage principles, health principles, life principles, those are the things you'll always lose in those areas. Because principles governs the thing. It makes the thing work. You know, and the valid never needs validation. So when you know who you are, it doesn't matter who's in your corner, who's not in your corner. Everything in life is already being established. So imagine this. Everything God has created, no man can go back and redo and fix and say, I can make it better. Because he said it's already established. And so the only thing you have control over is anything that you put your stamp of approval on. But here's the thing about it. Whatever you put your stamp of approval on, you have to own it. So when you make up your mind to do something, you have to own that. He said, I will give you the desires of your heart. The problem is, most people don't desire things. They want things, but they ain't desiring it. There's a difference between want and desire. When you decide to desire something, you pursue that with whole heart. This is what the LaQuan is talking about. I don't need someone to wake me up in the morning. I don't need someone to tell me I need to go to practice. I don't need someone to tell me I have to be disciplined in the things that is going to give me success. Why? I'm desiring success. The greatest athlete in the world, in my opinion, is the athlete who's willing to basically not just win. Because see, you have to understand, it's the attitude I will take over a champion any day. Because if you have the right attitude, you will become successful. Poor attitude, you just can't accomplish anything, because the way the world, the way God created us, He said, you're made in my image and my likeness. That means we're supposed to operate and function like He does. And so, how did God operate in the beginning? It said, wisdom was there from the beginning. First of all, wisdom means application. So wherever you're not willing to apply yourself, you will never have good success. So imagine you telling me I want to become a world champion, but you ain't willing to apply yourself. You're not willing to put in the work. That's the biggest tragedy. You know, tonight is going to be an exciting, I don't know if you guys are going to watch, but Deion Sanders' son.
I can't really do all
Yeah,
that.
listen, that's going to be a hell of a game, you know. But you know, the reality of it is that you stay humble, you stay committed, you stay faithful, and you are only competing for an audience of one. That's it, an audience of one, because he's going to ask, "What did you do?" And you want to hear, "Well done. I did what I was supposed to do," and that's what our whole life's supposed to be. We're supposed to accomplish the assignment that we were sent here on earth to fulfill. And it's never about us. My work is not about me. So that's where I get the joy. I get the joy in serving others to become the best that they can be. Because whatever they're carrying may very well be the very thing that I need, or my family may need, or someone may need. So all you're doing is sourcing others to do what they're supposed to be doing, so they can also source others. So everything is intertwined. The relationship LaQuan and I have, I can't pay for what he does for us as an organization. The thing is that this didn't start off of what he could pay us. This started off with me and wanting to spend time with my son. So if I was going to spend time with him, I needed to be to his games. So in part of being to his games, I volunteer to help the team in any way which I can. And this is what I got from it. A relationship, 16 years later, still here. And I'm reaping from it, from a seed that was sown from high school. Not even seeing that this was going to become what it is today. It's about relationship, but it's about your gift. You serve it well, and it brings a return. The Bible said, cast your bread upon the water. You don't know when it's going to return. He has more access and reach than I have on the professional level. And just through our relationship and the testimony that he's able to give, he bear witness to someone else. We had another athlete he referred to, told about. He said, can I give you your number? She called us, we had a conversation. The next week she was on the flight to Nassau. Got treated, ran back, and LaQuan could tell, you know, and it was, I've never experienced anything like this. And this is an athlete who's traveled around the world, competed, and got out. I'm not blowing my own horn, but the difference is you cannot be in my space and leave the scene. It's impossible. There's no way you can be in this space and leave the scene, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. It's impossible. Capacity.
And I feel like that's what we're saying, no, capacity. So you'll tune in, and next time you'll be talking to the Matt Catcher, then you'll be.
Yep.